Okay, the next step is to take this image here with a transparent background and to put a graduated background in behind the mineral specimen itself. There's many different ways to do this. If you are an Adobe person, Photoshop can probably do it, and there's probably other ways. I don't use that. I actually use a program called Photo Plus X6, which I don't think is actually made available anymore by Serif, but I actually find it quite easy to use. So first thing we need to do, this checked area shows you the transparent area. First thing we need to do is to add a new layer, as such, and then we need to go up to this option here, which is Gradient Fill Tool, and just do drag a line down there, and that does a graduated fill from top to bottom, and we need to then push that layer to the back, and that's our starting point. Now, the next thing that I do, you can see in the back of this crystal, which is fairly transparent crystal, it's quite dark and doesn't really match with the lighter grey here, so I want to bring that dark background down a bit. So to do that, I just click on the gradient map, click on there, and we can actually pull the black further down to wherever you want it to be. Now that's actually much more realistic the way that it's set up. And then there are other things that you can do with this gradient fill tool as well, so you can give it a different look. If I just drag a line, say across like that, see this area here lightens but still leaves this side darker, and that's a better look. If you're not happy with that one, try a few different ones. You can sort of move around and get different gradients depending on where you do it. I might go with that one. So you'll notice down here, if I just make this a bit bigger, see these little areas here, these dots. Now that's a particular problem with this program, that when you do the graduated background, it sometimes leaves these little black dots or white dots in the black area, and you need to get rid of them because otherwise they do show up. So it's on the layer that is in the background generally, so we click on background and we go to clone tool up here, and then do shift key and click, and then you can just get rid of these just by clicking on each one, and it's just cloning the area slightly, in this case slightly to the left, and just get rid of each of these. The more you get rid of, the better off you're going to be. So we'll just finish off a few of those. Now it's also useful on there too. It's useful to also have a look at a different magnification as well, because sometimes they'll show up there and not in the previous view. Just drag that down. Yeah, there's another one down there, another one there, another one here, there. Sometimes they're actually on one of the other layers as well. You have to actually, if it doesn't go away, you need to go to one of the other layers to try and get rid of it. But for the most part, it's pretty easy to do. So go over this side, there's a couple more over here. Oh, that one doesn't want to go. And there's a few up in this grey area here. I think that's pretty good. Yeah, occasionally I think there's one that won't go away and it actually ends up being just a spot on my screen, so not necessarily an issue. No, it's just, there's one down the bottom as well, get rid of that. Now we're pretty well done with that as is. We'll save this file, and then there's one more thing that I do after this, which will be the subject of the next session, which is just a little bit of photo editing, post-production stuff. So we'll just go File, Save As. We don't want to save it as a SPP file, we want to save it as a PNG file. And generally what I'll do here is I'll just put in the file name GB for graduated background. And then close that down, and you can now see that we've actually got that one there. So that's the end of this session.